equity reports in different voice, always an option.
I think we have a good product fit here. So.
Nico, welcome to Cards Against Complexity.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me.
So you're joining me at FIBE in Berlin. We're recording here in a podcast booth. A few people outside are listening. And we'll talk today about Berenberg. We'll talk about AI, about innovation. Before we dive into this, would love to get a quick introduction from you. What's your role at Berenberg Bank? And maybe also for everybody who's listening in, maybe internationally, who doesn't know Berenberg Bank, what's Berenberg?
Yes, sure. First of all, again, thanks for having me. So I'm really think these kind of podcasts are most fun when there are these fundamental changes you can really sense in the air. And here we are. So I'm quite happy to talk about AI. My name is Nico, Nico Baum. I'm running the innovation and data division at Berenberg. And within that role, I have the pleasure to manage AI exploration, AI research, AI implementation and implementation of respective data infrastructure for Berenberg. Within that role, several years ago, we have established a fully exclusively AI-managed fund and investment strategy, primarily in FX. And the strategy is now managing 6 billion in assets, and we are trying to now moving ahead and also distributing it internationally. And secondly, in the 2022, when we had that breakthrough in Gen AI, we were looking into extending our offering into generative AI, implementing algorithms and tools which are supporting our employees and especially our portfolio managers in doing equity research. Just briefly on Berenberg. Berenberg is founded in 1590. It's one of the oldest banks in the world. That's a quite nice story. The bank has 1,600 employees, is active in wealth and asset management, in corporate banking, and in investment banking. And what's quite special is, let's call it the ability of the bank to continuously reinvent itself. So it's quite forward-looking in its approach. And I often affectionately say it's the oldest startup of the world, not obviously because of its age, but because of its curiosity and way how it's looking to innovation and moving forward.
And that's very exciting. I think being in this kind of transformative age in an organization like this, would love to learn much more about this, and we'll dive into this. But before we get there, we're on the Cards Against Complexity podcast. And you know this, but maybe not everyone listening in over here or online knows this. So I'll just introduce our cards again. So we're playing Cards Against Complexity, and it's similar to Cards Against Humanity. The idea is very simple. I've got a card here on the left, and it's a sentence that needs completion. And on the right-hand side, there are 3 options. They might not be ideal. I looked at a peek before, but I think they could be funny. So let's see what we have. You'll have to choose one. And I'll read this out loud for everyone outside listening in. So your CEO asks you to use AI for Berenberg's client reports. Not unlikely, I would think. You decide to also use it to detect the client's mood before presenting results, turn all reports into 3-minute podcasts with a reassuring voice, or add an artistic cover to make reports look like The Economist.
I love them all, to be honest. But if I would have to decide, I would take the second one, because we're currently really working on automating some reports, and especially equity research reports, and also making it available in audio and podcast version. So therefore, I think number 2 is quite.
This is perfect product placement, I guess. 3-minute podcast with a reassuring voice, and I guess you're experimenting with voice. I would actually be very curious if maybe there's a voice mode, and I can use my own voice or some funny voice. Equity reports in different voice, always an option.
I think we have a good product fit here.
So let's take that podcast idea to equity reports. You're doing this actually right now. You're doing so much more right now, and you gave us a bit of a glimpse into this. And you're not only doing this since AI has been cool for everyone and everybody's uses ChatGPT, but you've built a base in this. Let's go a bit into your history as an organization, but also in AI, in your AI transformation. What does it take to implement AI into an organization like Berenberg with this history? I guess without destroying its DNA, because at the core you are one of the most established, most long-standing banks.
Great question. So we were talking about industrial revolution in the podcast before. So let me shortly have a short look into the history and then talk about Berenberg. We were most of the time as humans self-sufficient. 150 years ago, 90% of us were farmers. We then moved forward to the specialization. We had the Taylorism, so we specialized people in order to very specialized things. And then we founded the steam machine. We standardized and consolidated everything we were doing. We were leveraging economies of scale. And that was the system where we had really world champions in, or we have world champions in, was making long-term business plans, trying continuously growing 2 to 5% and making that really stable growth happening. But that's the world of the industrial system. That's not the world of AI. With AI, you don't need the standardization. You don't need the consolidation because scalability is now unlimited possible. It's not limited by people. It's not limited by headcount, not by talent. And we also see that already in macro numbers. We see when you're looking to US tech companies, data companies, and compared with German manufacturers, that's quite depressing. And now you see when you're looking the degree of automation in our across our industries is at 30%. When you look to top research papers, they say we won't really hit a limit here. We won't really exceed this 30%. But at the same time, a very conservative institute like the World Economic Forum forecasts that we will increase the degree of automation to 60%. So that means that in the next 5 to 6 years, we will double the degree of automation, which took us 150 years of industrial revolution. So, and that's what we're facing with AI. And that vision you have to explain to your company. You have to explain to your managers. You have to explain to your employees. So, and that's exactly what you need at the beginning. You need a vision, and you need to have the top-down support to get this vision into the company. So it's not really a technology challenge we are facing. It's more or less an enablement challenge, especially in Europe, because we are facing data protection issues, we are facing compliance issues, we are facing many governance issues, we are facing resistance with our employees. So you need to enable that. So and therefore you need managers who, at the one hand, understand how technology is working, but on the other hand, understand how the business is working, and then enable all the stuff around. And how we did that at Berenberg, just one sentence on that, we built interdisciplinary teams. So we hired new skill set, we hired data scientists, we hired physics, we hired engineers, we had IT guys, and we combined it with the traditional guys from finance, with the portfolio managers, because we, in many applications, we are still in so-called supervised learning. So you have algorithms which can learn patterns based on historical data, but these patterns have to be defined by humans, and these humans are the traditional guys who know how markets are working, then put to the tech guys, and then they put it in code, trained it on data, and you can use it. And another really important topic was to not build that team up somewhere in IT or somewhere in a separate research department, really do that on the investment platform, the team with P&L responsibility as a profit center, and have these guys on the trading floor, on the investment platform, on the pulse of the market, in continuously exchange and collaboration every day. That was really, really important. And beside that, you need to manage the AI strategy. Yeah? So, and how we build it, we really defined AI as a strategic enabler, not for product innovation, but also for daily support of our people. So you can just speaking in a picture, you can explain it in some kind of a pyramid. At the bottom, we have so-called basic AI applications, or everyday AI, is software as a service AI, which can be used by every employee to make this work more efficient and better and more quicker. And then at the top of the pyramid, we have the more tailored AIs, which needs some training, some fine-tuning, some modification. And this is really use case driven, and we need the business, we need the problems of the business, and really try to give this business context and business IP and the respective data into the models. Yeah.
And I've got now an image in my mind already. That pyramid. I mean, basic probably means for you like that's your chat, that's your some RAG models that enable you to work on what you have. But specialized solutions, those are solutions that those cross-functional teams developed together, iterated on, and then led to some amazing results. I mean, you're managing quite a bit of money already with AI supported or fully AI based. And your equity research is also running on AI with quite impressive results. Maybe you can take us a bit through this. Yeah. And I would love to just dive into one of those more specialized AI use cases, because I think you're quite ahead of the curve there with not only going to the basic level, but really going to specialized use cases that are in production.
Yeah, absolutely. Really happy to do so. So let me pick out our equity research tool, which we built for the equity portfolio management team on the buy side. Just shortly outlining how these guys are working. Yes, these guys, this is a team of 15 people. They are managing European equities around, let's say 1,500 to 1,800 stocks in the universe, and they have to consume knowledge, about this company. So they have to read broker research, they have to read investor relations news, they have to read annual reports, they have to read communications from board members, etc. And that's quite a huge amount
of reading.
Absolutely, and this is really not possible by 50 people. And we decided to put everything in our own in-house large language model we built, and try to make the answers available to a large language model based chatbot, right? And here it's important to understand that just putting it in some basic foundational model wouldn't work out, because these models are statistical systems and not knowledge-based systems. So the models can find some patterns in the text, but don't understand the text, right? So what you then need to do, you need to explain our IP, our investment process, to the model. We are calling that contextualization. So you have to tell the model who we are, what our investment process are. We are quality growth investor. What does quality growth mean? Which KPIs are important for us? When do we consider an KPI as positive? When we consider it as negative? When do we really use that research information to put this stock forward in our investment process? And this really can only be done when you include the business people into this project. So you again see it's not really like in former IT projects, it's not a closed shop IT project. It's a combination of different skill sets. You have the tech people who are in our IT, who are running the infrastructure, the cloud platform, the security, the governance side. You have in the middle our team, which is able to work with generative AI, can train the model, know how these models are working, and you need the business. And the business is the most important role, because these guys have a problem. They have to define the problem. They have to provide the IP, to provide the proprietary data to put into that system, and then you start fine-tuning, start providing that context. And then you need to establish some kind of feedback loops and trying with that feedback to optimize the answer quality of that system. And the ambition we had with that tool was to make the process of really research consumption 10 times faster, save 80% of the time a portfolio manager can save for equity research consumption, and make the amount of relevant information which is feeding into the investment process 5 times higher.
And that's impressive statistics already. Working on this every day, iterating this with a team must be really exciting. On the way, you probably find all kinds of challenges or fun things. I mean, AI can be really funny as well. I guess even in banking. What's the most surprising, I think, development you saw when applying this to equity research or to any other area?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the challenge, just answering on the challenges, is to convince the people. So it's quite widespread. You have more the younger people, which have a bit more tech affinity. They are quite euphoric, and quite ahead. And then you have more the older people who are already working in that business than 25 years, and they are quite skeptic. And really, what was a surprise for me was that it took us, I think, 3 months to convince one of the most senior persons on our platform, who was quite skeptic at the beginning, and provided a fully, the portfolio manager, after they have invested, need to write I think it's regulatory required in report. It's a 20-page report. Takes these guys 1 week, to finalize, and we build it with that system in just 10 minutes, right? And then this was really a super surprise that this guy told me, hey, that's absolutely amazing from all perspectives. So it was from a contrast perspective correct. It was much faster. So we had that huge efficiency gain, and that was really the biggest surprise for me, that we managed to convince people who are traditional people who are already since many years in the business with new technology. And that's exactly how we are trying to enable it, right? To show results, to show the impact, and to really convince the people, not with some PowerPoints, but really with live tools, right? And live impact.
And that's really live impact. I mean, if you see your own job that takes a week done in 10 minutes, you review this maybe over a glass of wine or just in another half an hour, and you realize it works.
Sorry for that. Let me just add one sentence here. And we're not doing that to really replace the people which are there, right? So, and that's something you also need to explain to these guys. We are doing that in order to make now with the same people 3 or 4 times the business we are doing right now, right? So it's a question of scalability and not a question of really replacing people by technology.
That's a huge journey then ahead of you, because if you get this kind of impact, there's a lot of scale to be had. If you look at this, I mean, we're at FIBE now, right? And this is FinTech Berlin. It's about traditional institutions and fintechs meeting each other. I think there's already so much to be learned from your journey for a traditional organization, but maybe let's also briefly go to fintechs. I mean, you've seen different institutions and different companies in your background. You've seen a fintech as well. Maybe tell us, is there something as a fintech I can learn from this? Because the traditional view is always, all banks need to learn from us. I think there's plenty in there for fintechs to learn.
Yeah, so I helped building a fintech in Germany, an asset management fintech, before I joined Berenberg. So I think there are two differences. So there are differences between fintechs and banks. So fintechs are more agile. They are to some degree more client centric. They are having that digital native mindset, and banks are having other advantages. Yeah, they have a balance sheet. They have established processes. They have know how to deal with regulation. They have long relationships and long this long trust which we have since 430 years at Berenberg. That's something a fintech doesn't have. And now, but banks have legacy IT infrastructure which makes these guys slow and that they can't keep that pace, right? When looking now to AI and the impact on AI, to these differences, I think AI will level the playing field a little bit. So I think banks will try to use now AI to be a little bit more innovative, a bit more digital, a bit more efficient and quicker. But that's only working when they're not only using it as tool, when they really integrate it as core capability in their processes. And these guys are really lagging and are not ahead of the curve. And fintechs are trying to move into these regulatory markets. So, and here you see that kind of leveling. And I think at the end, it's not about fintechs versus banks. I think these guys who really manage to integrate that AI capability and AI agility and combine it with institutional growth, these guys will win. Yeah.
And that's very exciting. I mean, what an exciting spot to be in for you. I think probably a few people listening in here right now learned something for their own institution, for their own fintech. And you're in the middle of this right now. I think thanks for sharing all of this, this whole journey of Berenberg Bank, but also of the impact you've already had. And now we're on the podcast. Maybe soon your reports are on the podcast, as we learned in the cards. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. And thanks for coming.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Nico, enjoy FIBE. Everyone else here, enjoy your FIBE conversations. I hope yours are as rich as these are here. Really enjoying those conversations. And the next one is coming up in about an hour, I think. We'll have to look at the schedule. Nico, see you around.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for listening. Bye.